I'm sure if you're like me and you're so excited for The Last of Us Part 2, like it cannot come soon enough. The State of Play presentation last night was just absolutely mind-blowing. It gave us so much new information, very in-depth as well, and even Neil Druckmann said that they barely scratched the surface, which is just insane to even think about considering the amount of like mechanics and gameplay they showed us yesterday. Watching some of the gameplay with Ellie, it gave a sense of nostalgia back to the first game and how you control Joel and the crafting, and yes, the crafting now is so much more in depth, like looking at the workbenches, like you can physically see the details that Ellie is adding onto her weapons. Like it's not just, you know, you don't just see the character's hands move and it's just there. You see it physically being placed onto each weapon, and how she holsters, like when she had that nail board and it just effortlessly slid into her backpack. Like the attention to detail is just, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. I thought the first game looked beautiful. Like the controls, sure, they were clunky, I will admit that, but still, The Last of Us is a near perfect game in my opinion. I know people will disagree with me, but I found it very hard to find anything wrong with the first game, and I really hope that the second game can give me that sense of love as well. I know there have been spoilers galore, and I've seen a few. I'm not going to talk about them in this video because I just don't want to talk about them purely for their spoilers, and I wouldn't want to ruin it for another person. But from what we've seen from State of Play and trailers, you know, and gameplay, it looks incredible. I am so excited for this game. And what we were told yesterday is that The Last of Us Part 2 follows on directly from where The Last of Us, the initial game, ended, where Joel, you know, decided against letting Ellie help the Fireflies, and so they could maybe find a cure, and they left and went off on their own adventure. So they find themselves in Jackson, Wyoming, and they have peace, and they're with survivors, and again from like, you know, trailers we've seen, they're in this barn and they're dancing, and it just looks like a peaceful community in this post-apocalyptic nightmare that's happening outside the walls, but they've found peace and serenity as to where they are. Ellie's now 19, she lives alone, which, you know, yeah, cool. Like I like the idea of her and Joel sticking together, which maybe we will see when the game is released. I don't know anything about the story and how those two work together, or if they don't work together, but I hope we see some gameplay with them both together. That's all I'm saying. They're searching for justice, there's multiple seasons, the game spans over multiple seasons, so the environments are going to be changing, the weather, day and night cycles, I assume, and running on the new Naughty Dog engine, which looks it just looks phenomenal. It looks so real. Like I can't believe this is current gen, and PS5 is going to look, I can only assume, so much more. It's just insane to even think about. There's exterior and interior environments to explore, which again gives you such a sense of exploration, a sense of adventure, and freedom to go between the two. The Last of Us, the first game was quite boxed in some areas, so I hope now it's not open world, but more of a free roaming environment, which again from this State of Play it looks like. And she can climb and jump and use ropes, which I guess, you know, they've taken inspiration from Uncharted 4, their previous title, but finally to be able to jump and use ropes and climb, like it's so strange in games. Like they strive for realism, but then sometimes your character can't step over a simple ledge, or that always blew my mind with Joel. Like there was such a simple ledge, and he just, no matter how many buttons you pressed and smashed the controller, he just wouldn't do it. Like it's just insane. So with having exterior and interior, it's more strategic now with how you combat enemies, whether you want to take them on straight on with, you know, full force and you go for it, or you want to be stealthy, which then brings me back onto like the prone, where Ellie can now remain prone and she can hide in grass, but if an enemy gets too close to her, she will be spotted. And the idea of guard dogs, and they can sense you and they can smell you. But you know Joel had that that listening, what he did, like he focused, listened. Ellie does that as well, but then you see a trail of where she's been, and guard dogs can follow that, that's terrifying. Like, you're not safe anywhere. I think the best thing you can do is just to keep moving, because the dogs will find you, and you know they're going to alert the enemies where you are, and nobody wants to be surrounded by guard dogs and enemies. And along with human enemies and guard dogs, we also have the infected, and the return of the clickers, the iconic clickers, who are just daunting and terrifying, and that noise just haunts me. And runners, again, they're more aggressive, they'll sprint at you. And stalkers, which again, for the name suggests, they're just going to hide in the shadows and they're going to jump at you, which again, so daunting, so scary, and I'm looking forward to it. And again, back to human enemies, we've got the two factions which surround Seattle, who Ellie is battling against. We've got the WLF, they're like the resistance to the military, ex-military members. They've got stolen equipment from the military, so they're going to be, you know, they're going to be hard hitting and they're going to be dangerous. And we've got Scars, which is a religious tribe, and they're called Scars because of the deep inflicted wounds on their faces to show they are a member of this tribe. They're more stealthy, from what State of Play described. They work more with bow and arrows, and they're more silent weapons, whereas again, like the WLF, ex-military, they're loud, they want you to know they're there, and use loud weapons. So with the infected and the abundance of human enemies that Naughty Dog have provided for us in this game, it seems only fair that Ellie is also allowed to have allies with her, to accompany her with her adventure. They'll spot enemies for you, and I'll assume you can command them to stealthily take down enemies. Or if you want to work alone, you can also use the enemies as human shields, like to protect yourself while you're running through. You might as well use them as bullet sponges to protect yourself, you know? In just 23 minutes, Naughty Dog managed to just entice me and draw me in and show so much, and there's so many in my notes. I've got so much more I could talk about, but you know, I want to leave some of my thoughts in my own mind to see how right I am when the game comes out. Like, I can't believe it's been a long wait for The Last of Us 2. I wasn't really sure about, you know, did the first game need a sequel? I didn't think so. I thought it ended in such a mysterious, dark tone that that was the perfect ending. It didn't need a sequel, but obviously Naughty Dog thought different, and I'm glad there is a sequel now. Like, seeing all this information, these new trailers and this new gameplay coming through, I'm ready for a sequel. I can't believe I ever doubted there ever would be one. So the only question I have left really is, at the end of the State of Play, Ellie comes across a character called Nora. You know, and like, who's Nora? Oh, and the inclusion of this, PS Vita and Hotline Miami. What? Such a good touch. It was good touch, Naughty Dog. Good touch. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologise if this was a bit long-winded and I kept repeating myself, but I'm reading off my notes that they're very hard to read, where I was jotting things down so quickly and I was trying to watch at the same time, and I know some of the audio is a bit cut badly in this. I kept messing up and falling over my words and having to keep re-recording it. So yeah, this is the first time I've really done this kind of video. I did enjoy it. I will be doing some more if it's something you guys are interested in, you know, listening to me ramble on about my thoughts about video games. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.